Panamanian companies are by far the Rothbard Group's favorite international business company, along with tax-neutral U.S. LLCs. Hello there, my name is Javier Correa, and I'm the legal director for the Rothbard Group. We're a dual Panamanian U.S. tax and business consultancy firm, and we truly specialize in the niche of cross-border tax planning between the U.S. and Panama for global entrepreneurs, really helping them take advantage of the tremendous opportunities that can be found both through the U.S. and Panamanian tax systems to run efficient, tax-neutral, global-reaching corporate and asset management structures. Now, today's topic is Panamanian companies. Why does the Rothbard Group love them so much? Why do I believe in them personally? And why do we widely promote them over alternatives that maybe have more marketing out there, like the British Virgin Islands, the Cayman Islands, or even a Dubai Free Zone company? Now, let's get right to it. What do we love about Panamanian companies? Number one, they can be incorporated very quickly. If you contact us and you want to incorporate a company here in the Republic of Panama, your company is done in a matter of days. No huge delays, everything is very straightforward, and the Panama Division of Corporations is quite swift in processing Panamanian company applications. Number two, Panamanian companies offer robust privacy. The names of the shareholders of Panamanian companies are not made public. And in fact, the shareholder certificates are handed to each shareholder with their name on them. So it's not exactly a bearer share. It's more of a traditional shareholder certificate that kept on paper outside of the public record, which means that only a handful of people actually know who the shareholders of the Panamanian Corporation are. That would be the shareholders themselves, the board of directors of the corporation, and the registered agent that company has here in the Republic of Panama. So privacy, 100% check. Then, access to banking. Panamanian companies can access the robust banking system here in Panama. Unlike other jurisdictions, like for example, the British Virgin Islands that have had increasingly difficult times to open bank accounts in other jurisdictions and really don't have robust banking options in their home jurisdiction, Panama has the tremendous benefit of actually being home to over 70 banks. So you have over 70 options to choose from when it comes to opening bank accounts directly here in Panama. And banking in Panama for your Panamanian company does not in any way, shape, or form take away the tax advantages that can be held and that can be discovered and that can be accessed through a Panamanian corporation. Panamanian banks are solid, offering multi-currency banking options, offering credit card options, offering payment processing options, and in addition to that, they are very successfully and very well linked to the U.S. financial system. So if you're moving money between Miami and Panama City, like most of our clients are, you're going to see the Panamanian banks do a wonderful job. Now, let's talk about that other topic I just briefly mentioned there a few moments ago, which is taxation. Panamanian corporations, by virtue of Panama's territorial tax system, can also be completely tax neutral, meaning that if set up correctly, a Panamanian corporation would allow you to run your business tax-free at the corporate income tax level, tax-free at the dividend level, no retained earnings tax. Any form of taxation on that Panamanian corporation can be avoided if it is structured properly. Now, a lot of people will tell me, well, Javier, well, that's fine. If it's a territorial tax system, I have a Panamanian corporation, then I have to be a digital nomad or run my business around the world. I can't run my business from Panama. I know the deal. And then I tell them, well, not necessarily, because Panama's territorial tax system for us at the Rothbard Group and for me individually as Javier is truly the best territorial tax system in the Americas and one of the best in the world because it has two specific carve-outs, and that is Article 694 of the Panamanian Tax Code. And there are two specific business activities that you can essentially operate from Panama, that you can carry out from Panamanian soil and still generate tax-free foreign source income under Panamanian rules. Number one is doing international trade. So if you're buying goods from country A and selling them in country B and those goods never enter the Republic of Panama, guess what? No tax in Panama, even if you're operating the business from a Panamanian office. Business operation number two, you can invoice, manage, and direct business operations related to transactions that take effect abroad and that are related to foreign clients. So if your clients are foreign, the economic substance of the transaction is also foreign, even if you're directing and running the show from a Panamanian office, then you are deemed to generate foreign source income that is not taxable in the Republic of Panama, even if the business activities are being conducted here. So that is much more interesting than going to a Dubai free zone and paying 9% tax in the vast majority of cases. And also Panama is a jurisdiction that has more economic substance in of itself, meaning you have a huge city. Here, for example, I'm in Felipe Mota Park in the middle of Costa del Este. I feel like I'm in Manhattan. I have all these beautiful buildings behind me, Miami style buildings. And Panama is really a place where you can relocate your life to. I look at clients that have BVI companies, maybe 1 in a million clients is willing to move to BVI to run the show from BVI. Whereas Panama definitely allows you to do that. Dubai also, but then Dubai, like I said, in the vast majority of cases, is going to subject you to that 9% tax, which is not ideal, unless you're in one of those narrow exceptions that have been carved out under Dubai free zone company legislation. Now, in addition to all of this, Panamanian companies also have really benefited from an increase in their reputation, or I would say they have made their reputation better in recent years. In fact, it was just a couple of months ago that the European Union eliminated Panama from its gray list of non-cooperative jurisdictions. In addition to that, in the United States, there are many Miami-based banks that love dealing with Panamanian entities because Miami is really the gateway to Latin America for U.S. entrepreneurs, or the gateway to North America for Latin American entrepreneurs, depending on how you look at it. So overall, really, Panama does unlock a lot of doors when it comes to its acceptance at a banking level and at a compliance level. The other thing that I love about Panama is that companies here are truly cost effective, meaning that you're going to pay a fraction of the price that you will pay in places like the Cayman Islands or Dubai for a company that is truly 100% tax neutral, can be structured to be 100% tax neutral, and on top of that, you don't have any mandatory economic substance requirements. So that's another thing that tends to come up in my discussions with clients in the context of developing strategies within the Rothbard group assistance and service package, which is that many clients come with this idea of going to the Cayman Islands or going to the BVI because it's the brand name. It's what they've been told all their lives, and it's what they've been told to go to, especially in the United States and Canada, where most of our clients are from. But the fact of the matter is, if you want to hold IP, if you are planning on building a multi-jurisdictional corporate group where related parties are going to transact amongst each other, then both in the Cayman Islands and in the BVI and in other jurisdictions like, for example, the Bahamas, you are going to need to meet economic substance requirements. And sure, there are ways around them. You can pay for local directors, you can pay to outsource that economic substance, but ultimately it increases your costs. Whereas here in Panama, you can have the economic substance here on the ground if you want to, and it can help you, and you can remain tax neutral by establishing that economic substance here. But if you don't need it, if you run your business globally, if you have a team of people working remotely, for example, you can run your business through a Panamanian corporation and not have to worry about economic substance requirements here in the Republic of Panama. The other element that I truly think makes Panama stand out is the fact that Panama is a civil law jurisdiction. So unlike the Cayman Islands or the BVI or even the Dubai Free Zone that has based its rules on English commercial law, which is English common law at the end of the day, Panama is a civil law system. Now, why do I believe it's an advantage for Panama to be a civil law system? Well, I will admit I can be maybe a bit biased playing for the home team. I'm a civil law trained attorney myself at heart. That I truly believe that there are some objective, verifiable benefits to being a civil law system country. Number one, it is much more predictable when it comes to litigation. Here in the civil law system, we have a civil code. We have a civil code of procedure. We have a code of commerce. We have codes that govern the way judges have to act and to the extent they can act. It's not like in the common law where judge-made law is much more flexible and judges have a lot more freedom to basically act on what they believe is correct and how they interpret different precedents. Here in the civil law system, they are much more bound to the code, much more bound to statutes. There are more predictable outcomes in the context of potential litigation, which gives me, in my case, a lot of peace of mind, and it gives a lot of peace of mind to many of our clients. In addition to that, when it comes to asset protection, we already talked about privacy. Panamanian corporations are fantastic for privacy. But now let's talk a bit about asset protection. And that goes together with the point I recently discussed. So because Panama is a civil law jurisdiction, it is not that easy to just bring in a court judgment from the United States, Canada, or the UK and have it enforced here. You have to meet the rules. You have to do a process called exequatur for that foreign judgment to actually be enforced here in Panama. And therefore, it's not easy for an ambulance chaser to just come in and just enforce a foreign judgment here in Panama. In addition to that, the language barrier with many common law jurisdictions that are mostly English speaking also delays the process a bit. Now, we want to encourage everyone to do things legally and to do things ethically, that if we can give our clients an upper hand in giving them more cards to hold during a negotiation so they can ultimately reach a more favorable settlement, that is something the Rothbard Group is very proud to do. And a Panamanian corporation is definitely one of those tools that can be used to that advantage and for that purpose. Now, the other thing that I wanted to mention is that Panamanian corporations can serve both as holding companies and as operating companies. So this is something that also comes up a lot in my discussions with clients here at the Rothbard Group. They tell me, Javier, can I use a Panamanian corporation to hold my investments? And I say 100% yes. Because of Panama's territorial tax system, any gains from foreign assets, so foreign dividends, foreign interest, foreign capital gains, foreign royalties, any type of foreign portfolio income is simply tax-free here in the Republic of Panama. So definitely a Panamanian corporation can be used as a holding company for investments, for active business subsidiaries, or for portfolio investments in general. And it can also serve as a corporation to run an active business using Article 694 or running international business operations as I've described earlier. So definitely it can serve both purposes very, very effectively and in a very powerful manner. The other point that I think is good to mention for Panamanian corporations is that you also have the freedom and the flexibility to issue different types of stock. Now, this is something that a lot of my common law clients, especially from Canada and the US, are astonished to discover because they come from a culture that tells them, oh, the civil law system is so rigid. Thank God we have the common law. You can't do much with the civil law. But turns out that here, the law of 1927 that governs corporations, that governs sociedades anónimas, as they are called in Spanish, is actually quite flexible. And if you want a Panamanian corporation that has super voting stock, that has economic interest only stock, that has Class A, Class B, Class C shares, and you want to structure them in a particular way, you can build your shareholder agreement and your bylaws to issue as many types of stocks as you like. In fact, you can even do management only shares if you want to, meaning that Panamanian law gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of how to govern and structure your Panamanian corporation. So you're not missing out vis-a-vis the common law counterparts of the Panamanian corporation. Now, I will say one of the things that you do have to take into consideration about a Panamanian corporation is the fact that Panama corporations do require 3 directors. So you can't get away with just being a solo entrepreneur and being the only director of your Panama corporation. But at the same time, the cool thing is that Panama corporations allow for corporate directors. So in many cases, what we do is for clients that are, solo entrepreneurs that run their own shop, they're a one-man operation, what we'll do is we'll establish US LLCs that also controlled by that client to serve as co-directors of his company here in Panama. Or in other cases, if it's a family holding company, you can have husband, wife, and child. You can also have 2 business partners serving on the board of directors and maybe bring in a US LLC owned by both of them as the 3rd director, or if there are 3 of them can be the directors immediately. So in addition to all the benefits I've already outlined for Panamanian corporations, the other reason why here at the Rothbard Group we are truly in love with Panamanian corporations is because they go exceptionally well with US LLCs. In fact, in many cases, the vast majority of our clients end up going for our signature dual US-Panama strategy because Panama and the US simply have very compatible tax rules. The benefits that are in the US are very compatible with the benefits you can find in Panama, and ultimately by combining a Panamanian corporation and a US LLC, you can actually get the best of both worlds in terms of US and Panamanian access and truly unlock the unrivaled potential, the unrivaled business potential of combining both the United States and Panama. The Panama Corporation can serve as a blocker for U.S. situs assets from an estate tax perspective. The Panamanian Corporation can act as a member of a U.S. LLC to also gain additional privacy in the United States. And profits that flow down to a Panamanian corporation through a K-1 of a U.S. LLC taxed as a partnership, for example, will generally be tax-free here in the Republic of Panama as foreign-derived business profits, or potentially as profits derived under the scope of Article 694 of the Panamanian Tax Code. So there you have it, folks. If this sounds interesting to you, if you want to explore Panamanian corporations further, if you want to understand how Panamanian corporations work together with U.S. LLCs to form the most powerful economic freedom business duo ever devised in a corporate structuring setup. And if you want to learn more about both Panama and the United States and how they work together and how a U.S. LLC and a Panamanian corporation can serve you, then go to rothbardgroup.com. We'd be happy to work with you. And in fact, I will work with you personally. I'm eager to listen to your case, and I really want to help you achieve the level of freedom you know you deserve as a global entrepreneur and investor. So until next time, this was Javier Correa, Legal Director of the Rothbard Group.